Sam Houston at Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky currently is a 10-point favorite, and that's not really surprising. You have certain things that are changing for Sam Houston. You saw Casey Keeler go to Temple, and you bring in Phil Longo. Phil Longo is a familiar face for Sam Houston. He is back on campus, and now he is running the show. Now, this is an interesting matchup, and the history behind it is kind of why. Now, the last two seasons, you saw Western Kentucky coming away with wins 31-14 and 28-23. Before that, this was an FCS matchup. This was an FCS playoff game. It was in 2004, so this is a long time ago. But Sam Houston won that game 54-24. So this is a program that's very familiar with their opponents and a program that is very aware of what this team is capable of doing. It's just going to be really tough for them to get stops is probably the biggest question. Now, the one guy I would say is kind of flying under the radar in Conference USA is Hunter Watson. The quarterback for Sam Houston had a solid season last year. Over 1,800 yards passing, completed 62.3% of his passes, had 12 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He also ran for 647 yards and 9 touchdowns. That's a dual threat player who could do really well in Phil Longo's system, in what Phil Longo wants to do offensively. So that's something to keep an eye on for Sam Houston. And it's not that Western Kentucky has an elite defense. It's just that you have so much that you have to replace on this whole roster. You know, you lost quite a bit of talent when Casey Keeler departs. It's going to take some time to rebuild this roster and rebuild this depth chart. But overall, you should feel pretty good about where your quarterback's at. And if the Phil Longo experience is going to work out, it's going to be because he knows how to build his roster. He gets the right guys to fit his scheme. And the defense also has to do its part. And this is a group that's probably going to take a step back defensively. Now, this is a team that finished 10-3 last year. It's going to feel like a disappointment when you don't win 10 games because this is a team that's not winning 10 games. Plain and simple. They're just not going to. You lost the head coach that you lost means that it's going to take you some time to rebuild. It's going to take some time for Phil Longo to kind of figure things out, get his feet underneath him. And being a head coach takes a whole new level of preparation. And I'm not saying Phil Longo can't do it, but there's going to be some growing pains along the way. That being said, I'm excited to see how Phil Longo does as a head coach. I'm excited to see him find some success. The time at Wisconsin just didn't work out. And you're hoping that he's able to find the success that he didn't experience with Wisconsin. Their opponent is going to create a ton of problems. And Western Kentucky is a team that expects to be competing for a Conference USA championship. And they're looking to do better than they did last year. They finished 8-6, and they bring in a transfer portal quarterback to run the show. Maverick McIvor comes in from Abilene Christian, and he is hoping to have a monster year. Last year for Abilene Christian, completed 62.5% of his passes, 3,828 yards with 30 touchdowns. Now you look at some of the transfer portal quarterbacks that this team's brought in the past. You look at Mike White, Bailey Zappi. Now I'm not going to compare him directly to those two, especially not Bailey Zappi, but Tyson Helton and this staff know what they're doing when they bring in a transfer quarterback. They understand what this team needs. They understand the quarterback skill set that they want. And that's something to keep an eye on if you are a Hilltoppers fan. If you're excited about this team, it's because you know your coaching staff has the ability to identify the right talent and bring in the right guys to make plays and distribute the football to your playmakers. And it's going to be an interesting season because you have some players that depart via the transfer portal. You lose Caden Velkamp at quarterback. You lose certain receivers that need to be replaced, but you do have plenty of options, whether they're unproven or are just looking to take on a bigger role. That's going to be the biggest question for this team, because if Maverick McIvor can feel comfortable in this system, you feel very confident about what he can do in this offense. You feel comfortable that he has the skill set to distribute the football and help this team. And that's going to help them race to the top of Conference USA. Right now, besides Liberty, this is a conference that is wide open. This is a conference that has plenty of options for teams that are looking to sneak their way into the contender conversation. And right now it feels like it's a two-man race between Liberty and Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky has to hope that their quarterback works out, and they're hoping that their defense can take a step forward as well, because this is a defense last year that, even with some of the talent that they had, I think was a group that you felt could have been better in 2024. And you had certain things that you did pretty well, but stopping the run, not one of them. Defending the pass, you did a little bit better. Now you do return some key secondary players that are going to help that. But overall, this is a group that needs to take a step forward. And sometimes it's hard when you're scoring points at the clip that you do when you're Western Kentucky. So that's something to keep an eye on. I'm picking Western Kentucky to win this game. I don't know if I take the points right now. If Maverick McIvor truly is the answer at quarterback, then I would say that Western Kentucky is going to be in good hands. I think that they're going to win. I just don't know if I would take 10 points. This feels like a steep line to take in week one, but we will see. We will see how this one plays out, and it's going to be fun to watch both these teams for two different reasons.